So we played one turn of District Commander Maracas. And obviously this is not even a first impressions. This is like, what do you feel about the first turn?
Right.
We just didn't have enough time to do a full game. And I need to like prepare better and like have the space on my phone and all those things. We tried to stream it and then that didn't work. But yeah, I think the first thing I can say is that I'm definitely down to play a full game of this. I'm interested in seeing it. First, I want to ask, what didn't we cover?
So the two big things that I feel like we probably should have used, but technically they were optional rules, so we just didn't. So first thing is assets. These are the government asset chits. They are chits that go in a chit stack that will modify it. So for example, this would give a +2 heart total, and if there's an asterisk, it's only for certain things. You've got to like look it up in the book. This actually would provide an additional combat unit. And so the idea is you buy them, you get 2 assets for 3 victory points. So they cost the same as a big army unit, but you get 2 of them. They don't take damage. They just automatically get disrupted. And then it's 1 tactical point per 2 assets to repair them.
And you can use them at any point?
You just include them in the stacks when you're putting the chit stacks out.
Okay.
But it allows you to have targeted modifiers that aren't they're permanent modifiers as long as they're in the stack. So I could use this just makes the stack better at combat and hearts and minds.
Okay.
This just makes the stack better at surveillance. Okay. And you have your own things. Right. And so it's just targeted permanent or semi-permanent modifiers for stacks. Not a huge deal. It adds a little bit to the buying things, because any that you don't buy for points are not in the game, so you really have to pay attention to like which modifiers you're buying to have access to.
So what else did we not play with?
The other thing we didn't play with was the intel stuff, which is another big. So that's a random chit pull during the intel phase, which is after all the start of turn stuff but before operations. I, as the government player, could pay dollars. Each tactical point gives me a pull from the cup. The cup is about an even split. Nobody gets anything, or I get a bonus, and then there is a smaller number of chits that are you get a bonus that I just paid for.
Okay. And what's an example bonus?
So give me just a second. I want to make, because there's another thing that triggers pulls from the cup. So I want to cover that first. And militia infrastructure units. Here we go. Intelligence segment. You do it. It costs $1 each per chit to pull. They don't get added back to the cup until after I've spent all the money I want to spend and done all the pulls.
Okay.
Second, when an insurgent infrastructure unit, so when I kill one of your infrastructure, I get a pull from the cup. When I pull from the cup, if it's blank, I set it aside till I'm done pulling. If it's blue, I keep it. If it's orange, it goes to you. In this game, there are 2 different types of bonus you can get. There are 2 types of bonus for me and 2 types of bonus for you. So, if you get the advanced intel bonus, it's the same for either of us. When doing an action where you get to spend a chit from your hand, you can spend one of these to use the biggest number on the chit regardless of what icon it's associated with. So it buffs makes your chit better.
And that's something that I can get if you just
pull it out of there's only 3 of yours of these in here. There are 5 of mine. The scenario specific bonus, for me it's informers and for you it's command nodes. So for me, if I get an informer, I would put it in an area. As long as I have military units, they protect it, and it negates the terrain bonus when I'm trying to pull you out of the underground. Okay. I've got snitches. And as long as I keep them from getting stitches, as the rule book says, they make it easier for me to expose your guys.
All right, so what is...
And you get command nodes. Yeah. Command nodes provide you with an extra $1. Every command node is one TP every turn. If I destroy it, it reduces your TP by 1, so you need to have soldiers protecting your commanders.
Okay.
But commanders give you extra tactical points.
And what is unique to Maracas compared to? So the district commander is a system. There's two. One is available from Hollandspiel.
Right.
One is available on Brian Train's website. There is a district commander rulebook, and then
Right.
there is a Maracas specific rulebook. What is specific to Maracas, and what is
specific to Maracas are the command node / the two that I just covered, the command node and the informant.
okay?
Specific to Maracas are the chits in that in different scenarios the unit stats will vary. So the chit mix is different. Though you could use the same chit mix if you were fine with it, or designing another one. The special victory point spaces are unique to Maracas.
Okay.
Normally it would just be a map without those. Things that are covered in the rules that are not in Maracas are there could be foreign military units that are deployed usually on the government side. Oftentimes they are actually stronger units, and they take damage last because they represent larger military. It's like the U.S. If we were doing Vietnam as the government, I would be South Vietnam. The foreign military units would be U.S. military units, which are obviously stronger. There can also be neutral, except they disrupt one or both of us units, like the crime lords and the new state militia, which are not affiliated militia groups.
So that's So that's what we didn't play with. That's what we did play, and the difference between that and the base system and the specific system. So what'd you think?
I liked it. I liked the variable scoring cards, like telling you what you need to do, because there is from card to card there can be significant differences in where your points are, and B, looking at both factions' cards, there are some definite discrepancies in that the insurgent player in general has different things that they're going for than the government player. Both sides in general want kills, but the government player has a much bigger interest in destroying enemy infrastructure than the insurgency has in destroying government infrastructure. Also, the government has a much bigger interest in controlling LOCs, having the military control of a region than the...
So there's some nice asymmetry.
There's some nice asymmetry there.
Okay.
The government in general, when they're penalized more heavily in victory points. Mm-hmm. The insurgents, by and large, other than on one of their cards, don't have any significant penalty to worry about. So they just get to go for points, and they can easily put more things on the board than the government player. But at the same time, the government has, in general, each of their cards has one thing that is worth 3 or 4 points each, and they really just want to try and focus on that.
So compared to other counterinsurgency games, obviously the most most commonly the coin series,
right.
With pros, cons.
I would need to play a full game before I really hit. Honestly, the thing that would be really nice is if this played in a more reasonable time frame once we have the rules down and know what we're doing, obviously. Because that would be really cool. Also, this system seems like it is simpler. There's a lot less rules density going on than the coin games.
There isn't. I mean, there's one page, and a lot of that stuff you can't do with a lot of the things. So your decision space is more limited. Not I don't know that there's less depth there, but it's definitely more streamlined than a full coin game. Right. Even something like Cuba Libre, which is the most streamlined of the coin games.
And that's honestly that's part of the reason why I kind of like rules dense games. Mm-hmm. So that's why if this is shorter, where I'm not sitting down for a 4 to 6 hour game, I'm sitting down for a 2 to 3 hour game, then I won't notice the difference. Yeah. If I'm playing this for 5 hours, I'm going to notice the difference between this and playing.
I mean, we played a turn in an hour.
Yeah.
And that was obviously a learning.
Right.
I figure probably turns are... I mean, again, we'll figure it out when we play a full game, but it seems like, half-hour turns. We were halfway... Where were you on your... Yeah, we were halfway through our... It doesn't look like points really go down.
No. There's penalties for certain things on the cards. The bigger thing is we got most of our points off the initial point buy. If you notice, our actual scoring was
that's fine.
Our actual points that we gained during the round, we gained 10-ish. So that's if we did like a random setup where we start at 0 victory points, that'd be like a 10-turn game.
Yeah.
No,
but
I like
the setup.
point.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that idea of kind of like the Red Zimbabwe or a bunch of other games where you decide I'm gonna gain these benefits, but I have to get these. Or and in this case, so in Great Zimbabwe, every time you add a god, you have to there's more points that you have to get in order to win. In this case, everything that I get, I give you more points.
Right.
And so it's I do like that idea of you can cut your own throat, as Edward likes to say, when playing the game. So as far as for me, I think it's lovely.
I also really want to play with the screens and the hidden information.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a lovely game that I definitely want to play full game of and explore the system further. My first problem is the way that the game is presented by Hollenspiel. I know this was originally printed and played by Brian Train, and I mentioned this in the playthrough. This is a block war game.
Yeah.
This is a block war game without blocks.
Without having played block war games, I said it's hard for me to come.
So you have these chits, and they have information on them, and you have to refer to the. I mean, you didn't have this problem because your chits were face up,
right?
But I was constantly looking at what my chits are.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess if we were facing in the same direction, and we were facing in different directions, then maybe if I had like little stands I could put. But essentially, these should be blocks.
Yeah,
right, these should be blocks that I should be able to see all the time, and when they become like face up, you just knock them down, and then everybody can see them.
Yep.
That is what this game should be. This is incredibly fiddly, having to look at every stack all the time and see like, do I have this? And I'm not going to remember all of these things. Right. It's we talked about how maybe it could be like a Maria style where you write stuff down, but I may have to do that just to not have to look each time. Maybe just write down like these are the different regions.
Have the different regions.
Yeah, I may have to like create an actual like thing and then like a dry erase thing and then just write down like. But that seems incredibly fiddly for something that just should be blocks. To the point where like I might make blocks, just stick them onto pieces of wood and do that. That is, Hollenspiel is. I love Hollenspiel. We love Hollenspiel, and it's not within their means to make a block war game, but this game should be a block war game. That is my first complaint, and it's unfortunate, but it's a nice enough game that I'm still happy to play it regardless. As far as the game itself. So Sophia had read the rules, and we were going to play this, and I asked her, is this a game that we would like, and she wasn't thrilled. Even though she's liked other war games that we played.
Did she say why?
She didn't. She said that there was some randomness, and she said that there was a lot of fiddly rules.
Well, there's a lot of randomness out of the.
But here's the thing: that I'm not big on randomness in war games, and in Ukrainian Crisis we play the low luck variant, right? Because I don't like a lot of like where you have to roll dice to be able to do these actions, and no, I'm not. I mean, we like Ukrainian Crisis, but we like the low luck variant of Ukrainian Crisis. And we haven't played the Little War because it is, more traditional in that way. I was afraid that this would be more like that, particularly when Sophia said that it seemed random.
Yeah.
I was afraid that it would be, a lot of the less Euro-y war games, like we play a lot of Waros, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the for real war games have a lot of randomness in it that I'm not really a big fan of. I was fine. with this. I mean, the chit pulls they didn't annoy me the way that Cataclysm annoyed me. That's just I was not a fan of the chit pull and Cataclysm. This was fine. I did not have. I mean, there was some you can plan for stuff. I liked the combat. I liked number one a lot of the streamlined elements to this. I liked the fact that I didn't know anything going in. And you didn't need to do you did some rules explanation, but it was all pretty straightforward. Like this does this does that. You're gonna have to internalize some things. What do the circles do? What do the stars do? What do the hearts do? But there's not a lot of information there, right?
Right.
It's much like Ukrainian Crisis, where you have those 3 cards, and you have to know what those cards do, and then that's it. The rules overhead is really low, I think, for what you get. I do like that there's like a logistical element to it. I like that you're spending resources. I like that you have to build infrastructure. I like that, okay, I need to do this before I can do that. It's not just, I have these units, where did these units come from? Like, how did you, it's stuff that you have to kind of build up. It's, not quite an engine building, but you have to build up kind of like an engine to kind of be able to produce the units that you're, or produce the things that you're doing. So you're kind of working up, and I could see there being a narrative over the course of the game. So I really dig that. I really like that Brian Train does a lot of current event stuff. He did a talk, journalism through board games, and I was looking at some of his games where he does just really interesting things like that. Because of that, I'm disappointed that this is a fictional city. I'm disappointed that this isn't a real conflict. I didn't learn anything. Like, I would have been nice if this had been a conflict where I could learn about some point in history. I think that the other District Commander game is based in
the ones that are mentioned in the rule book.
I think it's Algeria,
based in real.
Yeah, I think the next one is Algeria, and I'm interested in that because fictional scenarios are not appealing to me.
See, I think fictional scenarios are fine because just from this being the first one, not trying to represent a conflict when you haven't really gotten your system out there, like, so people can play it and you get all the feedback and you refine it. So doing a fictional one first, getting the feedback, refining it, and knowing how to then tweak and apply your system to fit given conflicts makes 100 complete sense. And B, like, a lot of the interest, at least to me, that comes from, because I'm of the opposite opinion. If I want to know about a conflict, I will go find 3 good history books, and I will just read on the conflict.
And I was just having this discussion too with 18xx games and stuff like that, where it's just I like my history and history books. I like learning through games.
Interesting to me about war games and that kind, to me, is you have a specific set of circumstances and a specific set of goals. And how do you approach your goals given the circumstances and resources that you have? It's a problem. It's like a word problem, word puzzle that you have to solve. And if it's historical, you have historical precedents that you can work off of and then to influence what your play is. But with fictional ones, you can just be given here are your resources, here is the situation, how are you going to approach it? And so it doesn't give you a narrative in the sense of narrating a real conflict, but it does still provide you with the same going back and looking at how you played the game. Did I play aggressively? Did I play conservatively? What does my play of the situation and how I reacted to my opponent
and when you're doing historical things, I understand that you're more limited in the design and what you can do. This plays ahistorically to what would actually happen, and you have to maybe balance things in that way, and that's just an extra factor that maybe designers don't want to do. Corworley's Root and Oath are neither of which I was disappointed in, neither of which were set in historic places, and I would have liked if they were. I know they have some inspiration in historical themes, but I understand that being able to not have to be tied down by a historical setting.
And you could even do
Pax Transhumanity is another example where some people are upset that it doesn't have that historical backing, but the fact that you can do really interesting and weird and fun stuff with that is a benefit. I think because Brian Train is so unique in his themes, he talks about things that other wargame designers won't talk about because they think it's too soon or it's too niche. I am always curious to see the story that he's trying to tell with his latest game. And the fact that he's not really telling a story in this game is disappointing, but that is 100% personal opinion. Does not affect the quality of the game. Just, it would have been nicer if I had learned something while I was playing. As far as the game itself, like I said, I came into this blind and was able to figure it out, and was not, as someone that is random averse. I like that there was no dice. I like that I can kind of tell. Particularly for me, I know what units you have, right? I know what units you could put out, but and there's that more kind of play the player situation. I'm gonna bluff you out of removing your chits. I do like that. I do like the kind of the back and forth of like, well, I know that you know that I know, etc. I do like the dummy units and putting stuff out, and kind of having to play like, oh, I'm gonna pretend that there's stuff here. I'm gonna act, and there is a lot of room there to do some really fun stuff that wouldn't be possible if it was just determined by random die rolls. So I really do like that. It's a fun game. Definitely, like you said, I love coin games, but I rarely get to play them these days because we just don't have the time and the people to play them. Something that plays in 2 to 3 hours. I see this being, and we're playing for 100 points. I see this easily in 2 hours once we figure it out. It's definitely something that I want to check out further. Definitely interested in the other game that he has that's in the system. So yeah, again, first turn impressions.
Yeah, right.
But positive. I mean, another positive experience for me with Brian Train. So yeah, do you have any further thoughts?
No, I liked it. I'll play it again.
Right.
Next time I want to play it with those two added assets.
Yeah, we'll play with more things.
Yeah, and with the hidden stuff. And then that's all I would add. Like all the extra, the crime.
And I'll try to figure something out with like these chits to try to make it easier, because that was just annoying, and that's unfortunate. That's the only that's probably my biggest drawback, and but it is what it is. Another neat game from Brian Train and Hollenspiel. All right.